Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, bringing you this band-endorsed but fan-based podcast covering every song Uriah Heep ever recorded in the studio. As long as I can get my hands on a copy, I can review it and share it with you guys. And man, they've recorded some great songs, haven't they? Today's song is no different. It's called Poor Little Rich Girl. Poor rich girl. And we're going to talk about her and her shenanigans in just a bit. But first, I want to give you guys a little bit of announcement. And you know, I don't normally talk about the different things that I'm doing, the projects that I have going on, because this show is not about me. It's not about Uriah Heep. However, I have a bit of news that has a Uriah Heep connection to it. And that is that I just released a single on Friday from my forthcoming album, The Forgotten Puppet Show. The song is called Try Again, and I had a guest musician on it. Uriah Heep's own Dave White was kind enough to lend his time and incredible musical talents on both guitar, keyboard, and synthesizer to the song. He played Mook. He did an organ track. I actually removed one of the organ tracks that I had on there already because I liked what he did better. And so the two organ tracks that you hear, there's still one from me and one from him. He also did some work with the Moog synth and then also a couple of guitar tracks on there. All the guitar is him. And it was just phenomenal what he brought to the song. I mean, I was pretty happy with it. I'm like, yeah, I could use a little something. And he was like Disney, man. He just came in there and painted a whole new picture over the canvas that I had given him. And I absolutely love what he did. Very, very passionate work. Fit the song so well. Could not be more grateful for the effort that he put into it. So thank you, Dave. Now, Dave sent me a note actually this morning and said that, by the way, this was played on a 1987 Kramer with a Floyd Rose. And he used that he used that through most of his band Heapsteria. But that's not the only Uriah Heep connection. This guitar was signed by Ken Hensley in his studio. And it's the dedication is made directly to Dave, so it was signed for him. Of course, he was good friends with Ken, and I thought that was really cool when he shared that with me. But yeah, I'm really happy with the song. I think the work that he did just brought it to a whole new level. I do have a minor change I'm going to make on the song before the album version comes out. But apart from that, you guys can check it out. The link is in the show notes, or you can go to www.scotthaskin.com and scroll. It's just under the banners on the main page. And that is where you can also link to all things Uriah Heep podcast, as well as my other show, where I have done some interviews with some of the members of Uriah Heep. More should be coming down the line. Now, that takes care of that. Like I said, I normally don't talk about my own stuff during the show, but this is Uriah. See, I can't speak anymore, but I can tell you about it. This is Uriah Heep related. So it does fit. Now, speaking of things that are Uriah Heep related, of course, you know, Dave, speaking of Dave, he has been working hard on getting the votes to get Uriah Heep nominated into the Ohio Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He lives in Ohio, so he's close to there. He's been there before. I've never been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I have family in Ohio, but I haven't been there in decades. However, he is working on that. There is a petition that you can just click and put your name on to help get Uriah Heep inducted. You're going to get, I think, 2 emails. One's like the verification email, and then the other one's like, hey, you know, please share, donate if you like, whatever. But mainly right now, we're just looking to get a massive number of signatures. We're well on our way. So please sign that petition to help get Uriah Heep inducted into the Hall of Fame next year. I still can't believe that they passed up Iron Maiden this year. I don't know how Uriah Heep isn't already in there, but I didn't know how bands like Deep Purple weren't in there until just a few years ago. It baffles me. But anyway, that's important. So please help out. If you love the band, you know, obviously you're here most likely you're a fan of the band, although I have had people that have heard of the band and never really knew who they were start listening to the podcast. So you may not be as familiar with them. But if you are, if you get enjoyment out of their music, then please go and vote for them to be entered into the American Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I know they're in the European Heavy Metal Hall of Fame, which is really cool. Why we aren't caught up, I have no clue whatsoever. But some other cool Uriah Heep things are going on, and they're coming up very soon. We're just a couple weeks away from the release of not one, but 2 box sets coming out from BMG on September 24th. The first one is the one that I've been talking about for a while, the Everyday Rocks box set. 7 picture discs, 7 t-shirts. You get some art cards and a wall calendar, and that is just an amazing package. The picture disc looks absolutely stunning. The t-shirts are great representations of the album covers. I mean, the whole package is really high quality, and I've never seen a box set quite like this. I think it's a really innovative idea, and something that I think instead of it being like a lot of box sets where people are like, oh yeah, I got this. This is so cool. And you unbox it and you're like, okay, great. And then you listen to it and you're like, okay, great. And then it just ends up on a shelf and you go back listening to the CDs that you usually listen to, or digitized versions, or your Spotify or whatever. Don't listen to Spotify. Buy the albums, people. So I think this is a really cool package. I've never seen anything like it before. The other box set that they're releasing on the 24th is called the Choices box set. Now, you guys that got the 50th anniversary box set with their entire catalog are going to be partially familiar with this. There were 4 CDs included in the box set that came out that were individual band members, what their favorite songs, what they would suggest for fans to check out, their personal selections, if you will. Each of them had a CD. We had one from Paul Newton, one from Ken Hensley, one from Lee Kerslake, and of course, one from Mick Box. Now, they have further expanded on those, and they have also included now Phil Lanzon and Bernie Shaw. Now, in the reality of our show here on the podcast, we are about to hit the timeline where both Bernie and Phil have entered the band. So they've been in the band for a very long time. A good majority of the band's time, they have actually been members. So it was nice of BMG to catch up and add their selections as well. And this is it's kind of a supplement for people that own the box set. They can get those 2 additional members. There's art cards and stuff to go with it. And for people that weren't able to get the box set because there was only a limited quality made, you can still enjoy part of that and get the bonus discs with this Choices box set. Very reasonably priced. I don't have my copy yet. It is on the way, but the actual whole production just looks absolutely fantastic, very professional, and I'm sure that you'll enjoy the packaging as well as the band members' choices. Listening to those CDs, kind of getting a feel for it. I did read a note from Mick Box that he had actually also picked the song Salisbury, but, you can only fit so much on a CD, and being that it was the longest song by a country mile, that one unfortunately did need to get booted. But please note in your head, when you're listening to Mick's CD or looking at the list of tracks, that he would have included Salisbury if he could. And I mean, just based on his amazing solos on that song alone, I could certainly see why that would be a favorite of his. And if I remember right, from one of the Ask Mick episodes on YouTube, those were all improvised. So a stunning package all the way around. Both of them are pretty incredible. Both of them coming out September 24th. You can pre-order them right now, and I would highly suggest that you do because, once again, quantities are going to be limited. So make sure that you click that link and get your order in ASAP. Very cool stuff. Now, again, before we start getting into our song today, Poor Little Rich Girl, you may have noticed that I have marked this as another song that has 2 versions available. And there are 2 versions, but we're not going to cover the second version, and here's why. It's an edited down single version, so there's nothing in it that we're not going to hear while we're listening to the main song. And the main song is 6 minutes and 35 seconds as it is. They did edit the single down to 3 minutes and 58. So they took a good 2.5 minutes off of that. And that had to be hard. What do you say in a Uriah Heep song doesn't need to be there, and be bold enough to chop it out? That's got to be a hard job. I don't know that I could do that. I've never had to edit anything down for a single. If I've written something specifically to be a single, I've just written it with that in mind and kept kind of to a, 3 minutes or so time frame. But, when you're a band that can write longer songs and keep them interesting, it's where do you cut out, I would not want to be the one responsible for making that decision most of the time, I can tell you, because there's very little I found in the band that doesn't need to be there. So we're going to get into that in a minute. But first, we got some people to thank. And I want to start off with saying that this episode is going to put my instant dialogue cleaner by Audionamics to the test. There is a raging thunderstorm outside. It is Friday afternoon, so flights are coming into Vegas like crazy. And I'll be curious to see what the final audio sounds like after I process it. It's going to be interesting for sure, but I have no doubt that Instant Dialogue Cleaner will do an amazing job. Thank you guys at Audionamics. As I say every week on the show, I will not do a podcast without my Instant Dialogue Cleaner. It shaves hours of effort off of what I'm doing. So thank you guys very much for that. Also, thank you to Scott Lazinski, who did an amazing job on the podcast logo, both the day and night square and round versions. I could not be happier with it. Every time I look at him, it just makes me smile. He and I have been good friends for many, many years, and he is a very, very talented artist. If you need some graphic work done, let me know. Maybe I'll hook you guys up, and he'll create something for you because he's very good at what he does. Also, again, thank you to Dave White, not only for playing on my song and doing such an amazing job with it, but also for maintaining the Uriah Heep website, for handling the Twitter account, the Facebook account. It's a lot of work, and it's really a passion for him. So thank you, Dave, for all the hard work that you do. Looking forward to having you come back on the show in some future episodes that we've talked about doing. Going to be a lot of fun. And last but not least, of course, we got to talk about what's going on in the podcasting world. I want to talk to you guys about my buddy Brandon over at Metallicast. Congratulations to Brandon, just had a baby girl. Mostly his wife had a baby girl and he helped, and baby is doing very, very well. I'm very curious to see what her Metallica choices will be as she gets older, or if she, starts her own metal band. Maybe she'll do a Metallica cover band. Who knows? But great show over there at Metallicast. And again, congratulations to Brandon and to your family. Also check out GottaHear'Em.com, where Allegra breaks down the live histories of bands like Deep Purple and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, as well as a lot of cool other tidbits. And of course, the band's manager Ace has his show Ace on Music, which you can get on Stitcher and YouTube. And he hasn't had a chance to put out an episode in a while. I'm sure he's really busy now that bands are starting to try and figure out tours and restrictions and all this stuff that's going on. It's just crazy. And of course, promotion for the band and the box sets and all that. So, but there are some great episodes already out for you to enjoy. So enjoy them. And then, just plenty of great stuff out there. Now, last but not least, my brothers at the Deep Dive Podcast Network. We have at the Deep Purple Podcast, we have Nate and John. Over at Skinnerd Reconsidered, we have The Simple Man. We have Terry, T-Bone Mathley at T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the other side. We have Riot Sabbath Bloody Podcast. Paul, Joe, and David at In the Lap of the Pods. Andy and Matt at Hawk Binge. Eric and Jonathan at Maiden A to Z Pod. And, of course, we have a couple new ones. Daniel and Josh at Diary of the Madman, the ultimate Ozzy podcast. Of course, we're talking about the one and only Ozzy Osbourne. And Ben and Sam at Universally Speaking, the Red Hot Chili Peppers podcast. Amazing group of people. I'm just so honored to be one of them. It's a very supportive network and just so many different bands and avenues. The closest real crossover that we have, I guess, would be that Rye at Sabbath Bloody Podcast ran out of Black Sabbath, and he's been covering the Ozzy stuff. And now, of course, we have Daniel and Josh over at Diary of a Madman. So apart from that, though, everybody's got their own band that they cover. Every show format is a little bit different. Some, like this one, are just one person by myself. Then we have others that are 2 people, one that's 3 people. It's just pandemonium out there, but you get all kinds of different avenues for putting a podcast together. And it's a very cool and an honor to be one of them. And, I couldn't wrap up my thanks before we get to the album without, of course, again, thanking BMG for putting out these amazing box sets. Very much looking forward to getting my copies of them. And also to my patrons at the $5 Easy Living tier, we have Kenny Wymore and Brad D. At the $3 The Wizard tier, we have Peter Voss, Goran Eriksson, Frank Thielgaard Mortensen, and William Rose. And at the $1 Traveler in Time tier, we have the Leakless Airtight Gravesite. Thank you all very much. You know, those donations mean a lot to me, covering the cost of the show. And that is great because I was fully prepared to do that out of my own pocket. But thanks for the love of these wonderful people the show is taken care of. And that means a lot. It also helps me do the monthly contests. And a couple of the patrons have won because, you know, they get bonus entries into the contest. So you may consider even doing $1 a month. Totally up to you. The link is on my website, scotthaskin.com. Click the Uriah Heep podcast page, go all the way to the bottom, and there is the Patreon. And you can also do a one-time or set up monthly donations at the PayPal link that is right under the Patreon link. And if you're having any trouble finding that, have any questions, are confused or whatever, just shoot me an email at uriahheeppodcast@gmail.com. It's that simple, folks, but thank you guys. It means a lot to me. It really does. And now it's time to get into the song. Here is Poor Little Rich Girl from Equator by Uriah Heep. Certainly not the intro I would have expected based off of that song title. I was really thinking it would be something more like, there she is on Hollywood Boulevard, look at her on Rodeo Drive. I promised myself I would never sing on the show, and that was not singing, so it doesn't count. But, you know, just something that was a little more towards the title. I think, you know, Poor Little Rich Girl kind of gives the connotation of a girl who has too much money and more of a sarcastic, like, oh, poor little rich girl, you know, that vibe. And this is certainly not that. So a very interesting title that is leading to something very different than what I would have anticipated. It's a really cool mood set, but it's definitely a really interesting mood. I'm curious to see where this is going to go.
Say you're gonna testify, lie away, so you're gonna gun me down, go ahead,
Well, what a great vocal delivery. And I mean, no surprise there. The range is not something that we've heard a lot, but certainly something that sounds very pleasing to my ears. And I just love the, almost compassion that you're feeling here. Obviously, this person's about to go up against it, and you're really getting a just sympathetic, welcoming tone from the vocals here to, lend some support. I like that. That's really nice. I really like that. It's, again, almost like it's not sorrowful, but it's definitely moody. Maybe there is a little bit of just sadness or anticipation in it, but it definitely has a good feel to it, and it seems to fit everything that we've learned about this song so far. Love the little harmonics that we're hearing there on guitars. The strumming sounds great. Everything just really is coming together. Those little fill-ins at the end of the line are great, man. They just bring out so much. I love that they're changing each time. It's not just the same sound, at the end of every 4 lines. But it's definitely something that's unique. You're getting a little keyboards, you're getting a little guitars, you're getting some little chimey type things in there. Just something to really make everything unique, and the song doesn't really have even a chance of getting stale. Well, nice chorus. I love the backing vocals on this too, because they're very minimal. They're very subtle. I don't think that this song really needs anything more than that. Just another instrument, another color that they can put in there to sort of differentiate things and give an interesting sound and something else to listen to. But very cool. It's not anything that they can't come back into the verse from, because sometimes I've noticed on some songs, I'm not really talking about Uriah Heep, I just mean bands in general, they'll want to do something crazy in the chorus, and it's really hard to get back into the verse again. They have to use different transitions and things to make it work. Sometimes it's just a little bit too awkward. But Uriah Heep's always been great at transition, and this is no change in that history at all. I think it's a great chorus. I think it leads nicely back into the verse again. Very cool. Well, that was an interesting change. I like that. I'm hearing in that, the bass drums are going with the acoustic guitars, and there's like one hit on a hi-hat that I hear. But I have a feeling that might be part of what got cut out or cut down for the single version, because that did kind of go on a little bit too long. And, if you want to do the first couple lines or maybe the first 4 lines that way, then, change it afterwards back into something straightforward or even something different, that's okay. But that was kind of a long time to go with just that beat being what it was. That's something that you do more in a short burst, in a quick bridge or transition. But it was pretty cool overall. I like the sound of the song. I like that beefy snare. But I was just thinking, isn't that kind of a common theme in the mid 80s though, was the you want to run away regardless of what the reason was. Maybe it was your parents are oppressive, or you just can't take this job anymore, or, you're tired of people chasing you, whatever the thing was. It seems like that was a pretty common theme back then. And maybe my perception is off. Maybe not. I don't know. Time will tell. Not really. Yeah, I don't know if it's that I wasn't really sure about the tempo before or what it was, but I like this chorus better than the last one. And I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, but I like it better for some reason. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm just like more dialed into the song, but it's very, very solid. They're playing very evenly, very well. Everybody seems to be in sync with each other, which is exactly what you want. The bass is really interesting throughout the chorus. So it's just playing straight notes, not doing anything too crazy, not meandering anywhere, but holding it together solid. And again, thinking about when this music was created, what was going on in the music world at that time, this song definitely fits in. Wow. Okay, so we got a lot to talk about. Leading into that first part with the keyboards, that was a really nice slowing down effect on the drums. I like what he was doing there. It just gave you the feel that something was about to change in tempo, but it wasn't. And I like that. I like when something's kind of misleading, and then you're just like, oh, okay, well, what's coming next? Oh, didn't expect that, which is definitely a direction that we went in after, because then we get into this almost Renaissance feeling, really royal sounding keyboard section. And I don't have any notes about actual like classical musicians being brought in for these sessions. So it sounds more to me like a keyboard anyway, what we're hearing on strings and brass, or I should say digital strings and digital brass. But it sounds really good. And it's not that brassy synth that we were hearing before. This is more of like a replication of what a real player would sound like. But it was really nicely layered. There's a couple different things going on at the same time, which is really cool. And then all that just leads into a blistering solo from Mick, very much in context of the song. And it ends with just, one of his classic long fade out vibrato notes. Just love it. Love it.
You pull the strings, someone waits in the wings. You flick the switch, this dancer falls. You deal the cards, the dealer calls in your game. Poor little rich girl, your money talks, and you pull the strings. Poor little rich girl, your money burns, we all have wings. It's a game.
That was a nice little change. We're basically doing the chorus here on what I expect is going to be repeat through the end of the song, because we're already at 5:15. The song is 6:35. So that's about the right time for it to be starting based on, what they have done in the past. But it's a nice transition. It's a nice way to break it up a little bit, do something different, kind of if you're at that point where you're starting to go, okay, I've heard this before, it brings you out of that and it makes you pay attention to the song again. And if you're paying attention, then it's just a nice surprise. But it seems to me, too, that there's not much hi-hat that I'm hearing in the mix. Don't know exactly what he's playing there, but I do hear some tambourine, and I am hearing the acoustic guitar, and that's almost kind of making up for the lack of hi-hat in the song. I mean, we're hearing the kick, we're feeling that, we're hearing the snare drum, but not hearing a lot in the way of the hi-hat. So it's interesting the way other instruments can fill in because they fit some of those similar frequencies. Like the way that the acoustic guitars sound, I don't know why exactly they sound the way they do, but they sound like they're more steel than, like a nylon string or a regular acoustic guitar string. They just have a different kind of edge to them. And I don't know much about acoustic guitars. I mean, the most that I know is that you can get bridge pins that hold the strings in there or whatever they do, and you can get all kinds of decorative and designer things. I don't really know much about acoustic guitars more than that. I unboxed a ton of them when I worked in the music store. In fact, I'll just tell you a quick side story. We had... There are certain guitars that are so cheaply made that the manufacturer, when one needs to be returned for, repair or replacement, they'll say, you know what, don't even send us the guitar. We don't want to pay for the shipping for the whole thing. We're just going to replace it. So just send us the headstock, like just cut off the headstock with the serial number on it. Send that to us. We'll use that as your proof of warranty, and we'll ship you out a new guitar to replace it for either for the store or if it was one that a customer brought in. So when we had one of those, we got to have a little fun because then we got to go smash a guitar. And it wasn't often that we could do it, but there were people that did not know about this rule. Maybe they were newer in the music store or whatever. There were people that were a little bit more gullible. So we would always just kind of wait for them to be in a position to see somebody in the store kind of, maybe in the back room or out the back door, go a little nuts and just kind of have a freak out moment and start smashing a guitar. It was a fun practical joke. And we were always able to find somebody that could fall for it. And then after we weren't able to anymore because we ran out of people, then it just became a fun, hey, it's my turn to smash the guitar. And, we'd pretend we were rock stars for a minute. It was as close as we got, but a lot of fun nonetheless. And I was always grateful for those moments. I should point out, to make the story a little bit more accurate, depending on what you're picturing in your mind, those were the acoustic guitars. There was never, ever once an occasion where we had an electric guitar that we got to smash. That would have been a rock star moment for sure, right? You know, to smash an electric guitar, even if you're not in front of a crowd of people, to just be able to take an axe and just, you know, obliterate it with no cost of your own into it and no repercussions. That would have been absolute heaven, but that was not the case, unfortunately. So we did get to smash up some acoustics, though.
It's a game. Body of a rich girl. Your money talks. You pull the strings. Body of a rich girl. Your money burns. We all have wings. Body of a rich girl. It's easy come. It's easy go.
Wow, that might be my favorite Uriah Heep ending to a song so far. How haunting was that? Especially just that last, "it's a shame." You know, I mean, those words are powerful, but the way that Peter Goalby delivers that is just, has a real sadness to it. And that is, that just has such an impact. And then this sort of, you know, just sci-fi keyboards that are just kind of a pulse. Really powerful ending as that just kind of faded into oblivion. I really like that. I think it's a good song. I do think it is a little bit long. I can see why it was edited down heavily for the single, but I think it's a great song nonetheless. It's definitely one that I can put on and enjoy, even at this full length of 6.5 minutes. But certainly wouldn't have been radio playable by any means. But it's a good song. I could see why they released it as a single. Shows a little bit different of an edge for them. Some great soloing from Mick in the last repeating choruses there as well, ever since we had that one change. And yeah, good song. Good song. I hope that you guys liked it. I hope it helps kick off your week to a great start. It's been a lot of fun going over this one with you guys. I will see you tomorrow for the Tuesday episode of the Magicians Podcast. Cheers! Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!